Coming up on today's episode of Inside Man United, the headlines. Marcus Rashford's England place for Euro 2024 in doubt. Erik ten Hag has unexpectedly given Manchester United star a permanent new position. £40 million bargain and Belgian star, 3 possible replacements for Casemiro at Manchester United. And United very angry over players' poor treatment on loan. Hannibal Mabry's loan deal at Sevilla a disaster, with the club incredibly angry at how it has panned out. All that coming up. Hello, and welcome back to the show. A very good morning to you all. Happy Friday. At least in Ireland, it's a bank holiday weekend. So Friday, Monday off. It's a long weekend, and I think there's going to be a bit of fun happening in this city at least this weekend. And of course, we kick off the Premier League campaign once again at Brentford at the G-Tech Stadium. If you haven't checked it out already, check out yesterday's episode where I do a full preview of the Brentford United game, going through my predicted lineup and what I think United is going to do in terms of tactics, how our midfield is going to move, because Brentford have a few little adjustments to make themselves with their injury worries as well. So if you're interested in that, check out the episode. And as always, thank you very much for joining me. And if you haven't done so already and you're new around these parts, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you like the content, would love a like as well. Now we're going to kick off with Marcus Rashford not really getting much of a look in Gareth Southgate's plans at the moment, getting 15 minutes against Brazil and not getting any time against Belgium. And it looks like even with Harry Kane and Bukayo Saka out, Sancho not getting a look in, Greenwood not getting a look in, he's still kind of playing second fiddle to Jared Bowen, to Anthony Gordon. And this does not bode well, because once Saka and Kane are back fit, you know, Marcus looks like he's going to be 6th or 7th at best. In terms of the attacking options that England have at their disposal. Can you blame Gareth Southgate? I can't. Yes, he's kind of scored 3 goals recently, but he's been very poor. He hasn't played his way into the England setup, and he really doesn't deserve his place there. So a lot of concern from Marcus's camp with regards to that, because it would be hugely damning for Marcus Rashford to not make an England Euro squad at the age of 27. After he's had that season at United, he's just got his bumper new contract. He's supposed to be at the peak years of his career. And for him to not even get into the squad, let alone the first 11, would be damning. But, you know, it's the kick up the arse he needs, to be quite honest. And, Gareth Southgate, when asked about it, kind of dodged the question when asked about Marcus Rashford's lack of playing time. So they're saying here in the Telegraph that he's in a fight to hold on to his place in the squad, and raises the possibility of England travelling without Rashford. And it must be hard for him as well to see Kobbie Mainoo, you know, lots of questions of, hopefully he can get into the squad. And now they're kind of looking at his recent performances and going, this kid has to start. Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Kobbie Mainoo, that's the midfield. And Marcus Rashford, the senior statesman at Manchester United, having to look at this while not even getting into the squad. It would be quite humiliating, if I'm being honest. So it goes on to say, despite being without Kane, Saka, Southgate gave Rashford just 15 minutes across the final friendlies against Brazil and Belgium before he names a provisional squad for the Euros. That does not look good. Rashford didn't get on the pitch at all against Belgium, which we know. And 23 players. At a push, it could be increased to 26. But Rashford we know Southgate's going to pick, 67 million defenders, which is what he always does in his squads. So it says here, having dismissed the suggestion that Rashford had been carrying a knock that may have limited his involvement with a firm no, Southgate dodged the opportunity to offer the United player any words of encouragement. Anthony Gordon, James Maddison, Watkins, and of course Ivan Toney getting in the mix as well, scoring a goal as well. And he went on to say, well, I wanted to see Anthony Gordon. I think he's been excellent for his club, and obviously Marcus got on in the first game, but I wanted to see Gordon against Belgium. I thought Maddison coming on would have an impact, and Bowen has also had a really good camp, so there's competition for places. I said when I named the squad, there was competition for places in those wide areas. It's a bit of a shame that Cole Palmer missed so much training that we weren't able to put him in. I completely forgot about Cole Palmer, and you've got Jack Grealish in the mix as well. So we weren't 100% that we would get, whereas with Gordon we knew, and Maddison we knew, and there's James Maddison. it's not looking good for Marcus. He suffered a difficult season, they're saying here. Yeah, ahead of the Brazilian-Belgian fixture, Southgate warned Rashford that he needed to impress by saying he has a battle on his hands with Gordon, with Palmer, with Foden, so we've got big competition for places in that area. What happens while players are with their clubs is club matters, because they know the full story. Obviously, we observe everything. We don't miss anything. I don't say behaviours off the field are irrelevant, because clearly they're not, but the key thing is we are mainly focusing on the performances on the field. Well, his performances on and off the field have been quite poor. So yeah, not looking good for our boy Marcus, and it would be really impactful on Marcus's transfer fee as well if United were considering selling him in the summer. If he's not even able to get into the England squad travelling to the Euros, that is going to be hugely damaging to the fee that United can command for him if there is an eventual sale there, which is absolutely possible. So we move on to the next article, and a reason why I say this is absolutely possible is because of how good Garnacho has been. So Erik ten Hag has unexpectedly given United star a permanent new position, and it's Alejandro Garnacho, of course. It looks like Michael Olise is our number one transfer for the summer. I don't understand the fanfare. I think he's a good player. 70 million for a guy who I don't think we need. Garnacho can play out there. Bruno Fernandes can play out there if needed. Mason Mount is right-footed, by the way. He just likes to play on the left so he can cut in and shoot. He plays the number 10, but he can play on the right too. And he has played there for United on a couple of occasions since he's arrived at the club. We do not need someone out in the right, despite all the hassle we've had there with Anthony and etc., etc. But Garnacho's kind of accidentally become the king of the right-hand side, and he's been doing very well. And when he was recently asked on a gaming stream which position he preferred, he said on left wing or right wing, he gave the proper answer, being on the pitch, which is not the kind of answer that Marcus Rashford or Jadon Sancho gave. Oh, I want to play here, I want to play there. I think I'm better suited to X, Y, and Z. How about just get on the pitch, play football, and show people that you're a valuable member of the 11 and that you can put in a shift wherever. So he answered that question not long after playing on the right for the first game against Villa. And he was outstanding. And he has been outstanding. And he's kind of made that position his own. And I know, God forbid, imagine having a right-footed player on the right-hand side. This inverted stuff is great and all, but, you know, it's not witchcraft to have a right-footed player playing on the right side of the pitch. So Ten Hag went on to say he's almost comfortable on the left. But I think he can play on the right. Today, I think he was on the right side over 90 minutes, an absolute threat, scored twice. But I think the whole front line played very good. They invested so much in the runs. And if you look at what Garnacho does off the ball, it's frightening how much ground that kid covers. He's like Ji-Sung Park. It's like seeing Ji-Sung Park again. He's all over that pitch. He's harrying. He's running back. He's covering. He's providing options, dummy runs. The kid never stops. And that's what Ten Hag wants to see. And that's why he's been getting 24 starts in a row. So yeah, it does look like United are starting to score a few more goals. Now, United have scored 28 goals in the last 12. They only scored 16 in the 12 before that. And Garnacho deserves huge credit. So, I mean, this pursuit of Michael Olise saying, oh, we need a right-sided attacker. We don't. And it's come out of United that the priority positions are centre-half, midfield and striker. And I haven't heard so much about, wide positions really at all. That's not to say it won't happen, but the priority is 2, if not 3 centre-backs, depending on how many outgoings we have. And we definitely need at least one more midfielder. Again, given the outgoings that we're going to have. Maybe McTominay will stay. Thoughts in the comments, by the way, if you think McTominay should stay. If you were offered 35 or 40 million for him, would you take it? Or do you think we're better off keeping him? I'm really interested in that question because he is only good really going forward. He's not good in defence, but is Scott McTominay the best kind of forward player that a club of United stature can get? It's a bit of a strange one. So yeah, anyway, right side of the pitch, I think Alejandro Garnacho has made that his, and I hope to see him there for many years to come. Again, Manchester Evening News, £40 million bargain and Belgian star, 3 possible replacements for Casemiro at Manchester United. Now, a lot of people were going or getting very excited about Amadou Onana's performance for Belgium against England. Thought he played very well. I think it's clear that Casemiro's gone. Between what he costs in wages, how available he is, his injury worries, etc., etc., there's no room for Cass, which is such a shame given how great he was at the club last season. So many players, so many fans were so excited about him. He was definitely, in my opinion, our player the season last year. Marcus Rashford, obviously, but Casemiro a close second for me. And So he's not replicated his form this season, and they've gone on to say. So there's three main players linked, and to be honest, I agree with these. There's a couple of other players in there that you could look at, like Hjulmand at Sporting Lisbon, who's been doing very well there. But central midfield, so a partner for Kobbie Mainoo is going to be vital. He's not a six. I saw Neville and Carragher on the overlap, and Carragher was like, he's not a six though, is he? I mean, I don't see him playing there. And he's not a six. He's never been a six. He can dribble, he can move, he's kind of like Bellingham in a way. He can get forward, he can play anywhere. 6, 8, 10. He can play anywhere, but he isn't an all-out tackler and a destroyer. And so João Neves is the first one. Now, I've been speaking about this kid for a long time. 19-year-old at Benfica. He is the jewel in the Portuguese youth setup and now into the first team. And a very exciting young man and a player that is going to be going for probably 100 million in the summer, and a lot of top clubs are looking for him. And he is a defensive midfielder, but he can play as an 8. He can play as a standard kind of 8 midfielder, but also a defensive midfielder as well. He's a bit of a tackling dynamo. He signed a 5.5-year contract in August, won a £103 million release clause, but apparently this is the player that United want. And I was kind of, toying with the idea that the reason that Alvaro Fernandez went to Benfica from Granada was, I think they wanted to sweeten up Benfica with a player so they could get to the top of the queue for João Neves, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, fingers crossed. He would be my number one that we should sign. I think he's an absolute titan of a player. He's going to be brilliant. He really is. Good age bracket as well to come in with the rest of the squad. Amadou Onana, I think he's a grand player. It's like Fellaini at Everton. He was like this all action. Fellaini's incredible. He came to United and he was okay. Had his uses, right tool for the right job. Joined Everton in the summer 2022 for 33 million. He's a fine player. I think he could do a really good job at United. Do I think there's better out there? Potentially. I'd much prefer Paulinho. I'd prefer probably João Gomez. I would prefer João Neves. I wouldn't be unhappy with Onana, but he's not going to be in my top 3 personally. So he's made 10 appearances for the Belgian national team and impressed. But again, international football is a very, very different game than club football. But again, he's 22. He's not too old. And he's a good age. 2.45 tackles per game. We've all seen him play at Everton. They're a good side. They're playing some decent ball under Sean Dyche. And Onana's been a key part of that. So he's definitely going to be on the list of players United are looking at, especially if Everton might get relegated, and Everton need money. They're on their knees. So I think you could get Onana for a fairly tidy sum. And he's a player that I don't think... He's not going to go to Liverpool. City don't need him because they've got Rodri. Arsenal don't need him because they've got Declan Rice. I don't think Chelsea are going to need him either because they've got Moises Caicedo. So United kind of have an open shot at Amadou Onana. So it wouldn't be the worst in the world. I wouldn't be unhappy with it, but there might be better out there. João Gomez... we've seen him kind of really come into his own at Wolves this season, and a tenacious ball winner, operating in midfield partnership as a 3-4-3, and he's only behind Paulinho in terms of tackling this season, and Paulinho is the number 1 across Europe for tackles made. He's an absolute titan. There's no wonder Bayern are going after him. So I think United should be going after like Paulinho, João Neves, those kind of players. But I wouldn't be unhappy with João Gomez either, because he is going to be the guy that takes over from Casemiro in the Brazil national side. 3.5 tackles per 90, 5.5 ball recoveries, and he's beaten Casemiro already, who's not having a great season. But yeah, anyway, they're the kind of the 3 main players, and to be honest, I think we're going to get one of those 3, unless Paulinho comes out of nowhere. He might probably join Bayern Munich, but we'll see how that goes. And finally, we're going to kind of look at Hannibal Mabry's disastrous loan spell at Sevilla. I thought this could have been good for him. A decent club, good history, not doing too well in the league. Definitely needed a player of his caliber, and he kind of fell out with the manager, Quique Sanchez Flores. And it's been downhill from there, and apparently United are outrageously pissed off with Sevilla about how this has gone, because like the sale isn't going to happen. They're not even putting him in the shop window for other clubs to buy, even if Sevilla aren't going to go ahead with it. So it's been a disaster for all parties, and you really got to scratch your head and be like, what the fuck are you doing? If I were United, I'd actually take him back because Sofian Amrabat isn't doing too well. Casemiro's out injured, and we need a defensive midfielder, and I think Hannibal Mabry could be doing a job for us at the moment for the run-in. Such is the need for a player of his mentality in the middle of the park. It'd be great to see him and Mayu play together in the senior team. I think it'd be a beautiful thing to see. So just made 5 Premier League appearances under Ten Hag, but United have grown angry and frustrated over Mabry's apparent poor treatment at Sevilla, with the midfielder badly struggling for minutes. He was left out of the Sevilla squad for the Copa del Rey clash with Atletico Madrid. Flores attempted to justify his decision, stating he has to understand what the club is. Now, apparently, there was a bit of arrogance, I think, from Mabry when he came into the club. Maybe he thought he was kind of Billy Big Bollocks at Sevilla, having come from United and all that kind of stuff. But we saw how that worked out for one Mr. Anthony Martial when he went to Sevilla. It didn't go too well for him there either. He was handed a rare start in a 3-2 win over Sociedad earlier in the month, but he didn't play too well. But again, it's hard to play well when your confidence is low. You don't get on with the manager. You're not getting minutes. And he was taken off after 53 minutes. According to Spanish outlet AS, Sevilla have angered United, and the disastrous loan could cause a problem when the club tries to attract players from the Premier League in the future, with Tottenham's Alejo Veliz also experiencing similar problems at Sevilla. And Sevilla are on their knees. Like, they're fucked. They're in a relegation battle. They're not doing too hot. And they're not doing well in Spain. So, maybe they should start playing the players that you brought in to help the cause instead of, digging your heels in. But again, it's hard to know. Maybe these managers are right and these kids are being assholes. It's difficult to try and figure that out. It's claimed Mabry's severe lack of playing time at Sevilla does not sit well with Old Trafford Chiefs, especially given the youngster could have joined several English clubs instead in January. And reports earlier this month suggested Mabry's entourage have been left baffled, and they could not believe how little he's featured for them. And United have even gotten in touch with Sevilla asking them, what's the story? Can you kind of give us an explanation as to why this is going on? And they're fearing his development may have actually gone backwards. So there's no chance they're going to be activating the buyout clause. Ten Hag has spoken highly of Mabry in the past. He could have been a part of United's, run-in towards the end of the season. He definitely could have gone to other clubs. And it's such a shame to see these kind of loans not work out, because he could have gone to another English club in the Premiership, got himself in the shop window, got himself a nice move, like Jimmy Garner, Anthony Elanga, Ted Menji. Now, obviously, we want to be getting a higher fee than we got for any of them, but it's just it's a real shame, and maybe he'll come back and give it the beans at United later on. But Ten Hag goes on to say how much he likes the player and how high his ceiling and how good his potential is. But I don't think he's going to have a future at United. It looked like United were quite keen on getting him out the door, getting a transfer fee in for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. But between Sancho, Donny van de Beek, Hannibal Mabry, Alvaro Fernandez, and Facundo Pellistri, I mean, it's not looking good for any of those loan players. So for all the United fans that were wringing their hands asking, what the hell are we doing loaning these players out? We should be starting them, or they should be getting game time. They're not even getting game time at, mid-tier clubs in tier 2 leagues. So, maybe the folks at United maybe know what they're talking about. That is it for the news today. As always, thank you very, very much for joining in. Really do appreciate it. If you like the content, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you next week. No more content for over the weekend. So enjoy the match against Brentford. I hope we absolutely batter them silly, and I will see you on Monday. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.